we're here to talk through this cave puzzle from Murat. It's got a pretty fun odd prime number theme. The clues that draw my attention the most when starting a puzzle like this are any clues that have adjacencies. It says that in the rows, the 7 clue will have 2 more cells used than the 5, and down here this 11, 5 is a much larger gap. This has to have at least 6 more than the 5 in these rows. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That line is an easy one to put in at the start. The 11 and 13 are good spots to use. They also share rows with other clues, so let's at least think about those. There are as many as 6 that this 11 takes in up top, so it has to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coming down. 11 is 1 larger than the column width here, which is 10, so it's got to at least take 1 cell there. The 13's in a similar scenario. It's got to take at least 3 in these directions, but if we actually look at these are 8 apart, so there's an unused cell somewhere in this space. I actually see from this shaded cell we put in, that's the smallest 7 footprint we can have that also has a shaded cell on the bottom. So we actually have fulfilled those clues pretty quickly by marking off what was meant with the 11 there. The 3 can't use that space. The familiar cave pattern to look for of a checkerboard is down here. Marking this cell is pretty critical because it sets up a neat next deduction, maybe one of the harder parts of this puzzle. So the 7 has to go at least up to this cell. It's pretty easy to see from counting around it, but we actually now have a set of cells that are about to be trapped, and it's not a common cave scenario to actually set something up this cleanly, but Murat's achieved it here as we connect sort of diagonally. We have a place where if we take this cell, if it's part of the 7 coming up in white, we have to take all of these cells, and that would give us a total of 8 in that column. So while we don't know anything about these, we can say that this one is not used, and it has to escape out in the only direction it can. So it gives a sign like this. We'll note that actually finishes off the 7 clue. Looking for the next spot I want to focus on, I feel it's probably around here, and there's sort of 2 things to do. The first is the 3 is going to take either this cell or this cell to the top or to the right, but what you should see is that the shaded segments here can't be escaping out to the bottom in the center group, so it's necessary that the shaded segments get out this way. Hopefully you can see why that is. It's a little bit tricky, but it's not impossible. We have some checkerboard thinking to apply. So for instance, the 3 here can't come straight down because that would mark all of these cells as unused, but in this particular setting that would be a game changer and not allowed, so let's mark that off. This does want to grab some cell to the sides here to connect up to the 7. One thing that's intriguing to me is forcing a potential checkerboard pattern with the consequence of this extending up. So if this is white, this is unused, that makes this white, which makes these unused, makes this unused. We actually now have a 7 clue that can take as many as 4. So there's sort of a thinking which is this 7 doesn't have a lot of space. It's going to be forced to come down this column, but if we block off the left side here and then block off that side there, it's just not going to work. So just thinking about the constraints around these, we get to here, we've got a checkerboard starting up there, so let's mark that off. This is 4 so far. It's not going to get all the way over here, so it must 5, 6, 7. That gives us this. That 3 isn't going to come across, so the 3 is going to do something like that. These cells still have to get out. That looks like this will work over there. We have these shaded cells need to get out up to the top, so this sort of path is there. Got a checkerboard pattern showing up. That's also true down here, so both of these cells, if they were white, would cause a problem. There. The 5 needs to take at least those cells in this row. Can't take all of this, comes back across. Get here, got a checkerboard situation around there. We need to get up to 11 for this clue. Right now we're at 9, so it's going to have to take 2 more. It actually looks like we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This has to take this cell. That will help us figure this out. This is now at 10. 10 means it doesn't come to the right. It means it comes up. This is now at 4, so this does this. These are fulfilled. The 5 needs to get finished out, so it must come to these. That finishes the whole set. So those are looking good. So it's going to just be finishing up over here. We have 10 around this clue. Taking that cell is too many. Taking this is just right. This 7 needs 1 more. And we're finished. So the highlight for me of the puzzle was the sort of connectivity around the center, but really this attempted to enclose the cell right here, R4C2. That seeing why that's shaded sort of set up some interesting work around here, and it may be that there's a smoother route to get at these clues. I actually think there is, but at least for this talk through we saw the sort of envisioning what would happen once we sort of shade around the top of the 7 clue, sort of block it in, that now the 3s can collectively pin the 7 and get us to there. So hope you enjoyed this cave puzzle, and we'll see you again in the future.